The New York federal courthouse looms like a bastion of justice under a brooding May sky, its marble corridors vibrating with the weight of a trial poised to shake the foundations of Hollywood. Inside courtroom 12B, the air is a pressure cooker, thick with anticipation and dread. Reporters cram the benches, their laptops glowing, pens scratching like a prelude to thunder. Spectators lean forward, whispering, their eyes darting between the defense table, where Sean Diddy Combs sits, his tailored suit barely concealing a flicker of unease, and the witness stand, empty but charged with the promise of a seismic reckoning. The judge, a woman with silver-streaked hair and a gaze sharp as a blade, slams her gavel. Silence descends, taut and electric, as if the room itself holds its breath. Today, Wendy Williams, once the undisputed queen of radio and daytime television, steps back into the spotlight, not with a microphone, but with a mission to dismantle a decades-long conspiracy of silence. Her testimony threatens to expose not just Diddy, but a sprawling network of power players who've ruled the entertainment industry's shadows. Names once untouchable, Jay-Z, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, now teeter on the edge of scrutiny. The stakes are monumental, an empire's legacy, a culture of complicity, and a truth buried under layers of fear and wealth. What does it take to challenge a system that's crushed you for years? Would you risk everything, your career, your health, your peace, to speak your truth? The courtroom doors swing open, and Wendy Williams strides in, her presence a paradox of fragility and fire. Gone is the radiant energy of her talk show days, replaced by the visible scars of battles fought in silence, aphasia, frontotemporal dementia, and a career obliterated by unseen forces. Her face, etched with the weariness of a soul long burdened, carries a quiet defiance. Yet her eyes blaze with purpose, her steps deliberate as she ascends the witness stand. The crowd leans forward, sensing a bombshell about to detonate. The prosecutor, Ms. Elena Wong, a woman with a voice like tempered steel, rises. Ms. Williams, please state your purpose here today. Wendy grips the microphone, her voice low but resonant, slicing through the room like a clarion call. I've been silent for too long. I've endured threats, lost my career, my health, my voice, all because I dared to speak about Sean Combs and the machine that protected him. Today, I'm here to break that silence, to expose the truth, and to ensure no one else pays the price I did. A ripple of gasps spreads through the courtroom, swiftly silenced by the judge's gavel. Diddy's hands clench in his lap, his polished facade cracking like thin ice. His legal team, led by Victor Grayson, a silver-haired attorney known for dismantling witnesses, exchanges tense glances. The jury, a diverse group of 12 New Yorkers, watches intently, some skeptical, others visibly captivated by Wendy's raw resolve. Imagine standing in Wendy's shoes, facing a room full of power after years of being silenced. What would give you the courage to speak out against an empire? Wendy begins her testimony, her voice painting a vivid portrait of her rise in the 1990s. I was a trailblazer at Hot 97, giving a voice to the voiceless, breaking barriers in a male-dominated world. But when I started talking about Diddy's parties, what really happened behind those velvet ropes, everything changed. She describes the scenes with haunting clarity, sprawling penthouse suites bathed in the eerie glow of red candles, for drips dangling like sinister chandeliers, young women, some barely legal, ushered into private rooms after signing non-disclosure agreements thicker than a phone book. I spoke about it on air, thinking the truth mattered. I thought people deserved to know. A week later, a major sponsor pulled out. 2 weeks later, I was suspended. A month later, I was fired from the job I loved. The courtroom falls silent, the weight of her words sinking in like stones in still water. She holds up a stack of yellowed pages, her handwriting scrawled across them in frantic, slanted lines, dates, times, and details of a decades-long campaign of intimidation. These are my notes, starting in 2003. Every time I mentioned Diddy's name, something happened. Anonymous calls at 2 a.m. contracts vanished overnight. Warnings as sharp as a blade, keep talking and you'll regret it. Diddy's lawyer, Grayson, leaps to his feet, his voice dripping with indignation. Objection, Your Honor. These are personal notes, unsubstantiated, no witnesses, no proof. This is a story, not evidence. Ms. Wong counters with calm assurance. Ms. Williams' notes are corroborated by forthcoming testimony and documents. They're a piece of a larger pattern of coercion and retaliation. The judge's eyes narrow, her gaze flicking between the attorneys. Overruled. Ms. Williams, proceed. Have you ever faced consequences for speaking out about something wrong? How did it shape your view of power and silence? Wendy signals to the prosecutor, who cues a muffled recording. The courtroom speakers crackle to life, and a low, menacing voice fills the space. You know what's waiting for you if you keep running your mouth. Gasps erupt from the gallery, quickly hushed by the judge's gavel. Wendy meets the jury's eyes, her expression unyielding. That was 2003. One of many calls. I kept them all, knowing one day I'd need them. She recounts moments of physical intimidation, her voice steady but laced with pain. In 2001, after a show, a girl group managed by Diddy ambushed me backstage. One grabbed my arm so hard it bruised and said, "You know the rules, Wendy. Don't be a pawn." I looked into their eyes, not anger, but fear. They weren't acting on their own. Someone sent them. Grayson objects again, his tone mocking. Your Honor, this is pure fiction. No photos, no videos, just a dramatic tale to sway the jury. Ms. Wong responds, her voice firm. Ms. Williams' experiences are part of a documented pattern, supported by witnesses and evidence we'll present. This is no isolated story. Wendy presses on, undeterred. I wasn't out to destroy Diddy. I wanted people to wake up, to see the truth behind the glamour. But the industry shielded him. Sponsors dropped me, radio stations silenced me, executives warned I'd ruin everything if I kept going. They didn't just want me quiet, they wanted me erased. Have you ever seen fear in someone's eyes when they followed orders they didn't believe in? What does that reveal about the power pulling the strings? Wendy's testimony detonates as she broadens her accusations, her voice rising with conviction. This isn't just about Diddy. It's about an ecosystem, a network of power that propped him up. Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, Jay-Z, they were part of it, shielding him, enabling him. The courtroom erupts in whispers, reporters typing furiously, their fingers a blur. The air feels thicker, as if the names alone carry a weight that could crush the room. Grayson shoots to his feet, his face flushed with outrage. Your Honor, this is an outrageous stunt. Naming unrelated figures without evidence is a ploy to inflame the jury and distract from the case. The judge's voice is icy, cutting through the chaos. Counsel, sit down. Ms. Williams, clarify your statement. Wendy's gaze is unflinching, her voice steady as she locks eyes with the jury. Hollywood has an unwritten list, names you don't cross, people you don't question. I broke that rule, and I paid dearly. In 2004, after I criticized Diddy on air, I was blacklisted from events tied to Perry and Oprah, like their film Precious. An executive pulled me aside and said, Oprah's people don't want you near him. That wasn't a suggestion, it was an order, backed by real power to protect Diddy. She pauses, her voice softening, heavy with betrayal. I trusted Oprah. I confided in her about my own abuse, thinking she'd understand, that she'd protect me. She promised she wouldn't exploit my pain. Then my abuser was a guest on her show, while I was erased from her world. That wasn't a mistake, it was a message, stay in line, or disappear. Jurors exchanged glances, some scribbling furiously, others visibly stunned. Wendy holds up her 2004 book, The Wendy Williams Experience, its cover worn but its pages heavy with meaning. I wrote about Diddy, Jay-Z, their lifestyles, carefully, in code, because I knew the risks. People called it gossip, tabloid trash. Now the government sees it as evidence, proof of a system I warned about 2 decades ago. What does it feel like to be betrayed by someone you trusted with your pain? How would you respond to being erased by those you thought were allies? The prosecutor steps forward, presenting a dossier that Ms. Wong calls a turning point in the case. The stack includes emails, non-disclosure agreements, and internal memos, all allegedly provided by former industry insiders who, Wendy says, couldn't stomach the lies anymore. She lifts a 2007 NDA, its pages redacted but its language chilling. Signatories were barred from disclosing any details of Diddy's private gatherings, recordings, or interactions, under threat of financial penalties and public retaliation. Wendy slams the document on the table, her voice ringing out. Public retaliation. That's how deep this runs. Grayson rises, his tone dismissive. Your Honor, NDAs are standard in entertainment. They protect privacy, not crimes. Ms. Williams is twisting a routine document into a criminal conspiracy. The judge cuts in, her voice sharp. Counsel, focus on refuting specific evidence, not broad claims. Proceed, Ms. Williams. Wendy continues, detailing a web of payments to PR specialists, talent managers, and bloggers tasked with burying rumors and polishing Diddy's image. The prosecutor displays a 2019 photo, Diddy, Tyler Perry, and a prominent crisis PR expert smiling at a gala, their grins a stark contrast to the silenced voices behind them. They controlled the narrative, Wendy says, her voice heavy. While women were paid to stay quiet, or destroyed if they refused, I was offered an NDA for a TV deal. The price? Stop talking about Diddy. I said no, and my career was torched. Smear campaigns, lost opportunities, whispers I was unstable. Have you ever been offered a deal to stay silent about something wrong? What would it take for you to refuse, knowing the cost? Wendy's voice lowers, her words taking on a haunting cadence as she describes Diddy's infamous parties, not celebrations, but rituals of control. Picture it, penthouse suites, red candles flickering like something out of a nightmare, for drips hanging over guests like a twisted medical ward. Young women, some barely 18, led one by one into private rooms after signing NDAs that chained their silence. Assistants, stylists, aspiring singers, they came to me off-air, terrified, whispering about what they saw, what they endured. It wasn't about fun or fame. It was about owning bodies, minds, and souls. She recounts a 2009 radio interview with Mark Curry, a former Bad Boy Records artist and author of Dancing with the Devil, who described Diddy as a shadow that destroys people. Wendy nods, her voice firm. I agreed with him on air. That interview vanished from the station's archives, like it never happened. Every time I named a critic, Curry, Gene Deal, Jaguar Wright, I faced backlash. Threatening emails, FCC complaints, warnings to stop or lose everything. They didn't just want me quiet, they wanted me gone. The jury shifts uncomfortably, some jurors avoiding Diddy's gaze, others staring openly, their expressions hardening. Diddy sits motionless, his face a blank slate, but his hands tremble slightly, betraying the storm within. What do these rituals reveal about unchecked power in the industry? Have you ever encountered an environment where compliance was disguised as opportunity? Wendy's voice cracks as she nears the end of her testimony, but her resolve remains unbroken. For 20 years, I sounded the alarm. I lost my job, my health, my voice, everything that made me, me. They called me crazy, a scandalmonger, a liar. But I'm here now, and I'm not afraid. She turns to the jury, her eyes earnest, imploring. Diddy's on trial, but this is bigger than one man. It's about a tower built on fear, NDAs, power plays, lavish parties, and billion-dollar handshakes. Jay-Z, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, record labels, managers, they saw the abuse, shook hands, took his money, and ensured anyone who asked questions was driven out of the industry. She locks eyes with Diddy, who maintains his composed facade, though his gaze flickers with unease. You thought I'd back down, Sean. You thought your power was enough to keep me silent forever. But the truth is stronger, and the law will hold you accountable. As she prepares to step down, Wendy pauses, her voice rising with a commanding clarity that echoes her radio days. This trial isn't the end. It's the beginning of a day when everyone dares to stand up, when no one's afraid to speak. That tower is crumbling, and I'm proud to be the one swinging the hammer. The courtroom sits in stunned silence, the weight of her words hanging heavy. Reporters scribble furiously, jurors exchange glances, and even the judge's composed demeanor falters for a moment, her expression pensive. What does it mean to break a decade of silence with such force? How can one voice spark a movement to topple a system? As Wendy exits the stand, the courtroom remains steeped in a hushed reverence, as if no one dares to break the spell of her testimony. Diddy's legal team scrambles, Grayson rising to dismiss her words as the final delirium of a woman who lost everything and blames others. But the cracks in their defense are visible, his voice lacks the conviction it held days ago. Diddy himself remains silent, his gaze fixed forward, but his hands tremble on the table, a silent admission of the storm brewing within. Outside the courthouse, the world erupts. Social media explodes with hashtags like #WendySpeaks and #HollywoodSecrets, clips of Wendy's old radio warnings trending anew. Fans, once dismissive of her as a gossip queen, now hail her as a prophet, a warrior who saw the truth when others looked away. Industry insiders distance themselves from Diddy, issuing cautious statements of concern while quietly halting projects tied to his name. Old interviews resurface, Diddy's boasts about power and influence now chilling in their arrogance. Photos from his parties are re-examined, the uneasy expressions of young artists taking on a sinister new meaning. Yet the backlash is swift. Critics question Wendy's motives, accusing her of seeking relevance or revenge. Some point to her health struggles, whispering that her testimony is unreliable. In a rare response to the press, Wendy speaks, her voice weary but resolute. They called me crazy 20 years ago. They're calling me crazy now. But the truth doesn't need validation, it just needs a voice. How do you respond when someone's truth is dismissed as madness? What can we do to support those who speak out against power? The trial presses on, but Wendy's testimony has shifted the narrative irrevocably. The prosecution announces that an anonymous witness, once contacted by Wendy in the early 2000s, is preparing to testify, promising to unveil further secrets about Diddy's network. Whispers circulate of other voices, former assistants, artists, and insiders, ready to come forward, emboldened by Wendy's courage. The entertainment industry reels. Record label executives hold emergency meetings, halting collaborations with Diddy. PR firms issue internal memos, advising clients to avoid comment. Allegations once dismissed as rumors now carry a gravity that demands attention. Fans grapple with the revelations, stunned not only by the accusations but by the realization that Wendy carried this burden for decades, her warnings ignored under the industry's glittering facade. Legal experts weigh in, their analyses dissecting the case's implications. Attorney Marsha Johnson notes, Ms. Williams' testimony, backed by documents and recordings, paints a damning picture of a system, not just one man. Former prosecutor Thomas Reynolds adds, the prosecution isn't just targeting Diddy, they're exposing a culture of complicity that's festered for years. What do you think this anonymous witness will reveal? How can their testimony amplify Wendy's impact and reshape the industry? Wendy's testimony is more than a courtroom moment. It's a clarion call to dismantle a system where power buys silence and money bends truth. As the trial continues, her words linger, a challenge to everyone watching. Don't look away, don't stay quiet, don't let the tower stand. She spoke of a tower built on fear, but towers fall when enough hands push. Look around you, your workplace, your community, your world. If you see someone silenced, controlled, or harmed, act. Ask questions. Listen deeply. Offer support. A single gesture, a kind word, a shared story, a refusal to comply can crack the foundation of complicity. Share your thoughts below. How can we challenge systems that protect the powerful at the expense of the voiceless? What's one step you can take today to amplify a silenced voice? Start small. Check on a friend, call out unfairness at work, share a truth others avoid. Wendy showed us that one spark, fueled by courage, can ignite a fire that burns through lies. What's your spark? How will you use it to make a difference? The trial of Sean Diddy Combs grips the world, but Wendy Williams' testimony has already changed it. Once a pariah, she's now a beacon for those crushed by power, a reminder that truth, however long buried, will find its way to light. The courtroom saga is far from over. The jury's verdict, the anonymous witness, and further revelations loom on the horizon. But Wendy's voice has rung a bell that cannot be unrung, ushering in an era where silence is no longer a shield for abusers, and courage is the currency of change. As she walks away from the courthouse, head held high despite the weight of years, Wendy carries no look of triumph, only the quiet resolve of a woman who's shed a lifetime's burden. The crowd parts for her, some applauding, others watching in awe. A reporter shouts, "Ms. Williams, do you believe justice will be served?" She pauses, turning, her voice clear and steady. Justice isn't mine to give. It's ours to demand. The jury will decide, but the truth is already free. The question now isn't just whether Diddy is guilty, it's whether we, as a society, will heed Wendy's call to tear down the tower and build a world where no one fears to speak. What will you do to ensure the truth keeps speaking? How will you help bring that tower down?